Okay, hi girls. I am so glad you guys are all here and taking time out of your day to come to the gym and support us and our mission on trying to build better humans and trying to create a great culture of leadership throughout women's sports in Spokane. And if you know me, you know that I love all you guys and I love sports, I love training, and one of my biggest joys and passions in life, and as I've gotten older and now that I want it to be my career, is just making you guys better and helping you guys reach your goals, whether it's athletically, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things. I just want to be an advocate for you guys, and so I'm bringing in people like Katie who have helped shape who I am and have helped mentor me, teach me, lead me, and helped me become the person that I am. So she can share and shed some of her light on you guys, because she's taught me a lot and I've learned a ton from her, and I think you guys can also learn so many things from her. And a lot of stuff that I say is just something that she said to me that I rearranged in my brain and made it sound like I said it, but it really came from her. So really take the time to pay attention to what she has to say, dig deep, dive into it, talk about it with your friends, talk about it with your families and stuff, but her leadership and under her mentorship. So she was the first person that I wanted to come talk to you guys, because I think she's badass, and you guys will too after this. So this is Katie. She knows how to win. She knows how to create leadership around her and a team atmosphere and environment that cultivates winning, cultivates hard work, motivation, all the things. So without further ado, this is Katie. Go ahead and
Hello girls and gentlemen, thanks for being here. Excited to be here, and just gonna say that I am not gonna make this very long. I feel like I have a very simple message, and in my time here I would also love to hear from you guys. So we are gonna start with that. I want you guys to introduce yourself. I want you to share just why you're here, and if you are in a sport, what sport you are playing. And if you feel like you want to share anything else, feel free, but we'll start with just name and why you're here and what sport.
I'm Crimson. I play softball, and I'm a junior now, so I'm kind of stepping into a bigger leadership role. So
Love that. We'll just continue here.
I'm Molly. I go to prep and I play soccer, and we're just here to be better teammates.
Love it.
I'm Avery. I play soccer and I go to Central Valley. And I'm here, just to be a better leader, bond with my team.
Great.
I'm Aiden. I go to Mead. I play soccer, and I kind of just came here to basically learn how to be a better teammate and work with my team better.
Okay. Cool.
I'm Aubrey. I go to Freeman. I play soccer, and I'm here to learn how to be a better teammate and a better captain to help motivate my team.
Great.
I'm Alicia. I play soccer and I go to U High, and I'm here because we have a better teammate. Nate Smalley invited us.
Yeah. Awesome.
My name's Hannah. I play soccer and I run track at prep, and I'm here to same thing, be a better teammate because I want to be better with Molly.
Great.
I'm Cadence. I go to Mountainside Middle School and I play softball and learn how to be a better leader.
Great.
I'm Mountainside, and I came here just to become a better leader and teammate.
Great.
I'm Allie. I go to West Valley and I play softball, and I'm just here to help myself and my team and be a better teammate.
Cool.
I'm Sorrel. I also play softball and go to West Valley, and I'm here to also just grow myself and help my team in the future.
I'm Carly. I go to Mount Spokane. I play volleyball, and I'm here to be a better leader and a better human.
And off the court, and I believe that starts with your mindset. So even though you might not hear me speak to the word leadership, I want you to know that what I do say today, my message today, very much builds to you being a good leader, right? You cannot be a good leader if you do not have a great mindset, if you don't believe in yourself, and you certainly cannot be a good leader if you don't put your words into action on the court or on the field. So we're going to speak to that specifically today. I'm going to write the word on the board, and I know maybe some of you might think, oh, that's not where I thought she was going with our message today. But this is the word toughness. Okay, so what does that look like? Well, I'm going to talk today about mental toughness and how that can apply to you as an athlete and how that can apply to you just as a person off the court, and then how that can apply to your leadership style and how to be a better teammate. Like all of you guys said, you want to be a better teammate. So we're going to start here. And as you guys are thinking and kind of brainstorming and letting this word kind of go through your mind, I want you right now to turn to a person next to you, and just whatever comes to your mind, I want you just to try to define what toughness maybe looks like or what toughness means to you. Sort of define it in your own words. It could be one or the other, an example or a definition. So go ahead and talk about that to the person next to you. Okay, so I'm just going to call on a couple of volunteers, and I'm just going to point at you, and you can kind of share what you and your partner talked about. All right. Yep, you're up. Yep.
Okay. Letting the last play go, knowing that you're okay, nothing bad's gonna happen to you, having a positive mindset.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys heard her, but letting the last play go, so kind of having that forgetful memory, right? We call it amnesia, and then focus forward on the next point to kind of summarize what you said. What else? Let's see, Molly over here.
We talked about just pushing through the bad parts and not giving up.
Pushing through the bad parts, not giving up. All right, over here in the back, what did you guys talk about?
Basically pushing through the bad parts and being willing to go forward even if you might not make it all the way.
Okay. What about over here?
Just not letting stuff get to you and just pushing through.
Pushing through. Cassie?
Physically, just persevering through whatever's kind of thrown at you, and mentally just ignoring negativity, kind of continue to believe in yourself.
Right. Awesome. Continue to believe in yourself. I love that. Because so much of our mental state of mind is how we perceive ourselves, right? In that moment, that self-belief, that self-reliance. And so that is really what we're going to talk about today. And I really think that it is something that can be trained and it is something that can be taught. And if you guys can walk away today with just a few little key pointers on how to have that mindset and continue through your athletic journey with that more focus on that mental toughness and how that can help you achieve, that's going to be awesome. So here we're going to start with just the definition of toughness per the dictionary. There's lots of different ways to define it, but if we're looking at the actual scientific definition of toughness, it is a fundamental material property measuring the ability of a material to absorb energy and withstand shock up to fracture. So if we're talking about an actual material, steel, how tough it is, it can absorb and absorb and absorb and never break. So think about it that way. Or the state of being strong enough to withstand adverse conditions or rough handling. Or third, the quality of being strong and not easily broken. So in some form, you guys kind of already summarized that, right? Just from your own personal experience. Now, my chosen definition of toughness is kind of combining those together, and I would define it as sustainable strength and perseverance through adversity. Now, there is an entire book titled Toughness, written by Jay Billis. If you're in the basketball world, you might know who he is. He's a commentator now. He played basketball at Duke. So I'm certainly not going to cover nearly this topic as in depth as he can, right? He wrote a whole book on it. But what he said about toughness is that toughness is the ability to not rationalize. especially as an athlete. So think about that. Toughness is the ability to not rationalize, because what do you do when you rationalize? You are trying to explain something. You're trying to therefore make an excuse about why something did not go your way or why you didn't achieve what you thought you were going to achieve. So if you think about it in that way, right, that's a whole nother mindset. How can you get to the place as an athlete where you're not even rationalizing? You're not even having the thought in your mind of trying to make an excuse. It's just simply, I can do better. I will do better. So those are some definitions to kind of think about as we move on. Here's what I want to write on here, so you guys can see this, and then if you want, you can take a picture with your phone. So I'm going to go through kind of just different topics or different concepts that I believe relates to toughness, and we're going to talk about each of them, and I'll ask for your feedback. So I believe, like I said, the first part is that toughness equals self-belief. So if you're going to work on kind of being tougher and having that mental mindset, it really starts here above all else. It starts with the self-belief in yourself. And I'm not here today to kind of talk you through about how you can have more confidence, but I just want you to know, right, that self-belief doesn't mean that you think you are perfect, right? Self-belief doesn't mean that you think you are above anyone else or that you are the best. Self-belief just means that you are striving towards a goal, you know what you're working towards, and you believe that you can get there. You believe that you can achieve that, and you believe that you have the opportunity and the strengths and the people around you to get there. And I think this is really important and valid because in our culture, we are a very critical culture, right? About how we look, about how we act, about what we say, and it's really, really hard to not let all of those criticisms out there about how we should act or what we should look like or how we should be kind of weigh us down. And if I had one message, if you could remember one thing, it would really be this. Find that inner self-belief in yourself, and you guys are all going to kind of have your own journey in terms of how you get there, and really, really, really build that up. Okay, build that up. Have that inner confidence in your own just ability, in your own values, in your own belief system, in your family and the people that support you. And if you feel like you're someone that struggles with that, and that can happen, then I would just encourage you to kind of have conversations, seek help, have conversations with your family, with your role models, with your friends, with your teammates, and maybe ask them some things, some strengths that they see in you that you might not see in yourself, and start to own those strengths and start to believe them. So I think the first step in having toughness is having that self-belief in yourself, okay? So here are all the reasons, just kind of why I think toughness is important. The second one is, actually we're gonna just do this. Second one is, I believe that toughness equals self-forgiveness. Or grace. A person that is mentally tough is someone who allows themselves to mess up and make mistakes. And I think you have to be okay with that, and you have to be able to say, hey, my bad, I'm moving on, I messed up, but it's not going to define me. I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to move forward. So if we can all kind of get to the place where we are self-forgiving and allow ourselves some grace to not be perfect, that's going to allow us to continue that journey to be mentally tough. Another reason why I think toughness is important is it emphasizes humility. And I think someone who is mentally tough understands that they are not the best and understands that there's always room for growth and kind of has this approach to life that, you know, they're going to give their very best and they're going to work, but it doesn't mean that they're perfect, and they're going to be humble and be able to kind of admit to their failure and their mistakes when it happens. The next thing is failure, which I've mentioned kind of as I explain these other concepts here. But I think that to be mentally tough, you have to be prepared to fail, and you have to be okay with that. In fact, I think some of my best athletes embrace failure, and they understand that failure is where they learn. And those that are mentally tough, don't let failure get them down. So if you're kind of picturing yourself as an athlete, whether you're a volleyball player or softball or soccer, each sport can look different for sure, but there are those moments, right, where failure is apparent, and you might be the one that just made that mistake on your team. And I just think those athletes that I look for, that I'm recruiting and that I really admire, are those athletes that just move on, move past that point. I think someone said that over here. They just quickly move forward, and they are ready for that next play. They learn from their mistake. They do not let it define them. I think toughness means commitment to the process. You guys are all here tonight because you are committed, right? You're committed to the process of being a better teammate, being a better leader, being a better athlete. You're here trying to absorb, learn, and overall just work towards your goals. How many of you guys have goals, set individual goals? You guys set individual goals? Awesome. So if you guys have an individual goal, maybe you have a team goal, it really is about the process. It's not going to happen overnight, okay? So having that commitment to the process absolutely demonstrates toughness. I believe that toughness also shows up in accountability. This is something that we talk about on our teams a lot, is how to hold yourself accountable, how to hold your teammates accountable, and then when your authority, your coach, your parent, maybe your role model holds you accountable, what is your response? So if you guys are all here as leaders, right, you're going to be in a situation potentially, if you put yourself in that situation, where you're going to have to hold a teammate accountable. And maybe that means because they're not doing the right thing. Maybe it means they're not meeting a team expectation. Or maybe it's just simply, telling them that you believe they can do better. They're not giving their very, very best effort right then. So in all of those examples and circumstances, accountability is hard. It's hard to hold people accountable. It's hard to hold yourself accountable. And that's why I think those that really are working on having that true toughness, mental toughness, right, know how to do this and know how to work on that. Next one, I believe that toughness equals discipline. And sometimes it's hard to differentiate between accountability and discipline. But discipline, I believe, is the action, right? It's every day meeting those expectations that you're being held accountable to. And I remember reading, I don't know if it was an article or if it was just like a book or a quote, but I remember seeing something about discipline, and it really stood out to me. And it basically was saying, in our world now, very much is promoting, right, self-care. Like, take care of yourself, your mental health, your physical health. It's all about that self-love, and I love that. I think that's great. But what I wasn't expecting is that they said the ultimate form of self-love, right, is discipline. When you have the discipline to show up every day and give your best, whether it's in your workout, whether it's in your practice, maybe it's just in your daily routine. You have this goal of getting up 6:30 in the morning so you can, work out and meditate or journal or whatever. That is hard to do. It's hard to be consistent with that, right? And so if you're really thinking about it, it's easy to talk yourself out of those things, all of those little, small, important things that are going to kind of set you apart and make you better. It takes discipline to do that. And if you think about self-love and self-care, discipline, forcing yourself and holding yourself accountable to those actions is the ultimate form of self-care, because you are preparing yourself to be your very best in the future, right? So, something to think about, especially as we are thinking about mental toughness, okay, as it is broken down in these little categories. The next one is, I believe that toughness means emotional intelligence or emotional awareness. So here's a message that I want you guys to kind of receive right now, is that I think a misconception of mental toughness is that you have to be emotionless. Mentally tough people don't feel anything. You see on their faces and they're just kind of stoic. They don't respond. They just do it, right? They just go. And some people are like that, maybe more naturally than others, but that isn't mental toughness. That doesn't make you tough. Being emotionally unaware doesn't make you tough. Right? It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have emotions. But the difference in what I believe maybe defines toughness versus not is whether or not you let those emotions define you, right? Or are you going to feel those emotions and then continue to persevere anyways, right? That's toughness to me, in my opinion. It's not the absence of emotion, right? It's just the perseverance through emotion and being aware of why you're feeling that emotion and moving forward, okay? So this, for me, I think is really helpful, and it's something that maybe not in this exact form, but it's definitely a message that I always communicate to my athletes, and I can tell you as a coach that I believe toughness supersedes talent. It really does. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you cannot adjust, if you cannot be aware of your emotions and persevere anyways, if you cannot deal with adversity or failure, I'm here to tell you right now, your journey is going to be short. It is. And so if you kind of know yourself right now and you know that yeah, these things are kind of hard for me. We're all wired differently, right? So these things, it's okay that these things could be hard for you. And it's okay if you haven't thought about mental toughness in the way that I'm speaking about it right now. That's okay. But I believe if you're aware of that and you kind of know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, you actually can work to train. You can work to train your mind, and you can work to be more mentally tough, or at least mentally aware of your mindset, and start to reframe those thoughts. And so then the second thing that I want you guys to remember, and I'm gonna have to erase this because I don't have space, right? So this is why toughness is important and how I am breaking down toughness. But now I want to end with, how do you train toughness? How do I train toughness? How can you guys continue on this journey of being a better leader and athlete by helping yourself and try to develop and be a little bit more mentally tough? So let's see, I'm going to write this over here. We're going to start with this. So here's the very first thing, and I kind of put them in order of importance. I believe the very first thing, if you're going to learn how to be more mentally tough, it starts here. Your heart has to be in it, right? I can speak to you hours upon hours upon hours about how to do all of these things and all the things you should think about and all the things that you should do. But at the end of the day, you will find yourself in this place working on your mindset and your toughness if you have this, if your heart is in it. And you know what? I believe that you guys are all here tonight Because you're passionate. You're passionate about your sport, and you're passionate about being the best athlete and person and leader you can be. So above all else, right, it has to start here. You have to have the heart for it. Otherwise, anything else that I say isn't going to matter. Then the next thing, if we're really talking about reshaping our mind, okay, it has to be here. And I know you've heard this over and over again, but a positive mindset has to be the primary focus. Okay, it's going to be impossible to think, okay, I want to be more mentally tough. I think I want to just really learn how to deal with failure better, right? And I can only no better sport as an example of failure than volleyball, when the other team literally gets a point off of your error, right? Like it's so your failure at that point is so apparent. So in order to overcome those things, it has to start here. You have to have a positive mindset. And there can be many, many, many more seminars, webinars, speeches about how to have a positive mindset, right? That's a whole nother conversation. I just want you guys to be aware of it. And if whatever works for you to kind of get yourself there, be intentional about that. Maybe that's journaling, maybe that's gratitude, starting the day with what you're thankful for. Maybe that's writing down positive affirmations. Maybe that's just surrounding yourself by the coolest people that just build you up all the time and tell you how awesome you are, because you are. Whatever works for you, that's just something you kind of have to learn. All right, the next thing is set achievable goals. You're all here because you want to get better, and you can't get better unless you're working towards something. So even if it's kind of in your mind unintentionally, I would encourage you to write down your goals. If your coaches don't have you do that, and it's okay if they don't, I just would encourage you to write down some individual goals, even in in this season I want to accomplish this. And maybe they don't always have to be physical goals. They don't have to be goals of you achieving on the field or on the court. It could be a teammate goal. It could be, I want to connect with these people and get to know them better so I can, work on being a better leader. Whatever it is, okay, you're not going to be able to develop a mindset of mental toughness if you're not working towards something. All right, next one. And this kind of goes right along with positive mindset, but be your biggest cheerleader. I'm going to run out of space here, but man, I can't say this enough. Build yourself up over and over and over again. And I know that's easier said than done, right? We all struggle with that, but don't hold back. In your mind, be like, I had an awesome day today. Today was awesome. I am so proud of myself for whatever, fill in the blank. You guys should allow yourself to think like that, say that, and hopefully you're in a space with your friends and your family where you can share those awesome successes and things. And like I said, some people are maybe better at that than others. But I just want to encourage that. There's nothing shameful or offensive, especially if it's coming from an intentional place about you celebrating yourself. And it doesn't have to be you bragging about yourself, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the thoughts that are going through your mind and how you build yourself up. Okay? My mom would always say, and kind of as a joke, but I think it's why I'm where I'm at today. She's like, Katie, you're always your biggest cheerleader. I was like, I know, I am, but I think that's an okay thing. And I think there's some separation there between encouraging yourself and ego. I mean, we're all athletes, so we all have a little bit of an ego, and I think that's awesome. I would say my definition of an ego and when that can be kind of harmful is when you're building yourself up by diminishing others, right? There's a difference in that. So this doesn't mean that you get to put other people down. It just means you get to say every day when you wake up, I'm awesome. I'm pretty cool. All right, next one. So if we're talking about actual tangible ways to be more mentally tough, right? Rather than just kind of intangible character traits. I would say it would be this one skill: focus and concentration. So there's lots of things that you can train kind of in the moment, in drills, in practice, that your coach can help you with to kind of train this focus and concentration. But I believe like toughness, it starts there. It's the ability for your mind to control your body and kind of be aware of what you're doing in all moments. And if you need to change something, understanding what you need to change and then making that adjustment before you get to this place of like frustration or resentment or self-loathing where you can't even make those changes. And then I would say just shift your mindset on mistakes. I don't have enough space, so I'm just going to write mistakes. I'm going to say want them, learn from them. And the more failure happens, the more mistakes happen, the more you learn. The more you learn about yourself and why you made that mistake and what you need to get better on. And the only time mistakes become a problem or failure becomes a problem is if they happen over and over and over again and you don't make any changes, right? That's the only time. I would say one of the biggest things that I work through with my athletes is them understanding failure and just being okay with failure. And so on the volleyball court, that looks like understanding as a hitter that you're not getting a kill every time, and you going up and getting blocked is part of the game, and you can learn from that. And then the next one, another intangible, is get the most out of practice. So if we're kind of going back to learning from your mistakes, developing your focus and concentration, all of these things are going to take place in practice. Okay? Not to say you're not going to make mistakes in a game. You are. Okay? But it's much easier to learn from mistakes in practice than it is in a game. So really appreciate practice, the opportunity that practice provides. If I had to go back and tell myself one thing as an athlete, it would be that. Like, do not undervalue any rep or any drill, because it all matters. It's all helping develop you and your mindset and your toughness. Basically, a game or a competition is just a recreation of practice. Like, obviously, you've heard this before. You will compete how you practice. So as a coach, I take that to heart, knowing that how I run my practices is really how they're going to perform in a game. So in terms of how I try to coach or teach mental toughness, I always try to put my athletes in really challenging, pressure-filled, fast-paced situations that simulate a game. And then once they can be successful in that in practice, they now have the confidence, right? And hopefully that mental toughness to be successful in a match or in a competition. All right. And then the last thing is just this: surround yourself with awesome people, with awesome role models, and they can help you develop all of these skills, because it is a journey. But I will say this, if I had to conclude, it would be, if I've seen a difference in my 10 years, which isn't that long, but I was coaching 6 years at the high school level before I started coaching at Whitworth. So overall, I've been coaching 16 years. And if I had to identify a difference in terms of how kind of your generation has shifted, I can say confidently, it's this. It's in our mindset. It's in our toughness. And I know you guys are here because you're set apart, right? Like you're different. You're ambitious. You have these goals. You have these desires. But honestly, like, this is a tough thing to learn, and I'm seeing it less and less and less. And it's not because they're not capable of it. It's just, I don't think they've actually consciously thought about, one, that this is important, and two, how to be better at it. I think our world, it really kind of embraces like that victim mentality a little bit. And so there's a lot of like self-pity, I feel like, floating around. And I hate that. And it doesn't mean that you can't feel things once again. It's just about how you choose to deal with those emotions and making that conscious choice of moving forward anyways, right? Persevering anyways. And the athletes that I've coached, the ones that survive and get better and grow and show success on the court are the ones that have this, maybe innately, but it's also because they've been taught it, and maybe it was through parents, maybe it was through a coach, maybe they learned it once they came to Whitworth and they were just kind of like open to it. But the ones who struggle, even if they have talent, I've seen it firsthand so many times, the ones who struggle are the ones that at the first sign of failure, they're a wreck. They are a mess. They struggle. They think they're terrible. They don't deserve to be out there. And it's just sort of this spiral, right, of these bad, negative thoughts. And they can't get themselves out of that. They cannot get past that. And it does not matter. They could be the most talented person in the gym. And if they can't get past that, they are not successful. So it is so important. I hope you just believe me and know that and just can kind of reset and learn. And I'm sure you guys have all of these qualities already, and just go out there and share that message with your teammates as you are in these leadership roles. And once you kind of are in that role, most importantly, lead by example. If you guys are doing all of these things and you're leading by example, that's addicting. Like it's influence. They want to do what you're doing, and they're going to ask, well, what are you doing? Why do you think that way? And how are you helping yourself get better? So that's it. I would love to hear back from you guys. So I would just love to hear, here's what I would love to hear. I would love to hear maybe one thing that resonated with you, or it could be a question, or if you can kind of think of like any example where you've seen either great mental toughness displayed or maybe not. Does anyone want to share? Yeah.
Something that resonated with me was the piece about discipline.
Yeah.
I feel like in our day and age, everyone's all about self-love.
Yeah.
It's something that's so important.
Yeah.
But like, I guess personally, I don't think about the discipline as much.
Yeah.
That can help me.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful.
I know, that was like mind-blowing for me too, because I'm like, oh, self-love, like, let's go get a pedicure. I'm like, no, like, self-love is like showing up every single day and like getting your workout in or eating healthy or, whatever. Like, that takes discipline. That's really important. Yes.
I just think that's something that like I'll take away. And
Good.
because I'm the same. I think it's like, oh, I'm going to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So that's helpful.
Good. Anything else? Yeah.
I like the part you said about focus and concentration.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the end of my senior year and like I just don't have motivation to do anything. I feel like.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just helps a lot in classes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stay engaged.
Yep. For sure. Yeah.
I would say what resonated with me is surrounding yourself with role models,
Mm-hmm.
and that can't just be like your coaches or like stuff like that. It's like your friends who you like surround yourself with. I think that's really important, especially in high school when you are like you have to make a tough decision. Like, oh, should I go hang out with my friends or should I go maybe get some extra reps? I think that's get people that motivate you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It's really helpful because to me it's like you can't just believe in yourself and have none of the other things
Right.
to be a tough person.
Yeah.
So it's like being able to see things in a full picture and like knowing that you have to have all those things and you can't just have one and not the other.
Right. Yeah.
I loved when you talked about getting the most out of practice
Mm-hmm.
because I had a couple injuries and I kind of realized that like practice is really fun.
Yeah.
And, like you kind of get to compete in practice.
Yeah.
It's like a game.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, I've tried to like show up to practice and really like enjoy it.
Cool.
Because it could be over
Totally. Yeah, it totally can. And I want to say one thing about practice too, because sometimes I feel like this message isn't like stated enough either, is that practice isn't always fun. I love when it is fun, right? I love when it's like, this is so great, I'm in it, it's competitive, it's awesome, I'm working hard, all the things, but like, that's not every day. Like, if you're being honest with yourself, like, you can be the toughest person in the world and you still might have the attitude of showing up to practice and be like, oh, I'm just not in it today mentally, like, I'm just not feeling it. And you know what? That's okay. Like, it's okay to have that acknowledgement, but at the end of the day, like, you're there still, you showed up and you're still going to give it your best, but it doesn't mean you're going to have that same emotional reaction every single day, every time practice starts. So I always tell my athletes that, like, it's not going to be, you can be joyful about your sport, but it doesn't mean you're going to be joyful every time you show up for practice. So you just have to like work through that, and that's absolutely appropriate and okay. Anything else? Yeah.
I liked how you said that part of being like a mentally tough player is just being able to acknowledge all of these points, and even if you're working on them, like you're still aware of everything you're doing.
Yep.
They want to play next year. So I feel like this will help like all of us be able to like try and motivate our team more to like just keep pushing.
Good. Good. I hope so. Yeah.
I like the part about like how you said mistakes are like a good thing and how you learn from them, because I know like everyone thinks like failure and mistakes are like a negative thing, and like you should be disciplined and like not make a ton of mistakes. But I like the part where like you said you can learn from mistakes and like get better from them. And I think that was like a good like outlook of how mistakes can be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a huge like shift, at least for me as a coach, to try to communicate to my players to get them to be okay with failure. That it's it's hard. It's really hard to be there because it sucks. Like, especially in volleyball, you're like, cool, it just got blocked. That's not fun. But yeah, it's necessary. It's helpful because we're not perfect. Like, we're going to make mistakes. So I think if we're playing careful, I think if you're trying to avoid making a mistake, then you end up just playing careful and you're not all out giving it your very best. Yeah.
I like how you like put failures, but like also being your biggest cheerleader. Because like you still like, even if you fail, you still are like, it's okay. Like, I'm still okay.
You're still okay. Absolutely. You're still in it. You're still okay. And you know that you can do better next time. Even if nobody around you knows that. Like, you know that. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
I feel like me and like a lot of the team as a whole, just like once a mistake happens or something, you immediately like feel like you're playing for yourself almost, and like you don't have people around you. It's like you immediately jump on someone else and be like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? So I feel like it's really helpful to know like what you can do to like strengthen the team as a whole. And like bring everyone together.
Yeah. That is, right? Like the hardest part about team culture and all of that, which we have all those conversations with our team. And I think, it has to start internally, right? To your point, you can't start like pointing the finger, right? You have to kind of own your mistakes and know, where you're at, but also know that you can do better. And then, just try to share that belief, right, with your teammates, for sure. Yeah.
I like what you said about mistakes because our team kind of plays a little bit timid. So we had to learn like it's okay to make a mistake as long as you learn from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
My favorite part was probably about the setting achievable goals.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know as an athlete, like it's easy to get stuck in a rut, and if you don't have constant goals to work towards, then you can move backwards.
Mm-hmm.
That's super important to set individual goals and goals as a team.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
More mistakes.
Right.
And I feel like they don't teach you how to accept your mistakes as much to where you can move on.
Yeah.
That's why I think that's like really
helpful that you actually like have a perspective on that will help you improve.
Yeah.
Not make mistakes, not tell you to not make them.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
I like the part of surrounding yourself with good, positive people because I'm the kind of person where if someone on my team's upset, then it's gonna make me upset.
Mhm.
So not only being around those people, but being that kind of person can help so much.
Mhm. Absolutely.
I also like the part about focusing concentration because like for high school athletes, it's like when you're playing a sport for your school, it's kind of the first time that you're playing also for an audience
Mhm.
when there's like people or fellow classmates and friends watching you.
Mhm.
So you feel that pressure and you almost end up making more mistakes. So like
Right.
working on the concentration and focus just to remember that like you're on the field
Yeah.
is really important.
Yeah. That's awesome. Cool. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Add something to failure. I think like I love like the perspective of how like failure isn't like a terrible
Mhm.
still better after failure
Mhm.
and before
Mhm.
failure. Like you don't suck after you make a mistake and after you fail. Like you're
Mm-mm.
still the same person.
Yeah.
You still deserve to be on the court.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I feel like I like how much you talked about the positive mindset because with our team, we're really struggling with
Yeah.
and I feel like because like softball's the game of failure, like you always fail in that game. So I feel like having a positive mindset is so like
Mhm.
it's so beneficial for you,
Mhm.
which I like how much you talked about that.
Yeah.
I feel like emotional awareness is really important because sometimes when you're playing, you can get in kind of like this like hole where you're just kind of bring your whole entire team down. Because if you have a bad attitude, it's like contagious and can
Mhm.
the rest of your team. So now your whole entire team's down, and I think
Mhm.
it's really important to just flush the mistakes and try and
Yeah.
bring yourself back up.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, because one thing I didn't see on here, but would totally tie into like emotional awareness is body language, right? Yeah, so to that point. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to end by sharing this, and I do not have a copy for everyone, so I apologize, but I can easily get you more copies if that is necessary. So what our team does is that we create a toughness contract, and it's specific to our team. And what we try to do, and this is not me, it's the team kind of providing their own definition of what they feel like toughness looks like on our team. And so they broke it down, and they broke it down in kind of categories similar to what I did here. But the first one was be selfless. And then the second was relentless pursuit, have vision on and off the court, seek out a challenge, take and give criticism with love, be present and be respectful, and terminate the play. And then underneath those topics are just kind of more specific actionable tasks of how they can demonstrate toughness to their teammates out on the court. And then everyone has a copy of it. And so we know we're kind of all on the same page in terms of what toughness actually looks like in volleyball on our team. So if you guys want one of these copies, I have them up here. So kind of a fun team activity, like building activity to do with your team if you want to do that. Okay, that's it. Thanks for being here. Good luck with your seasons and your teams, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you around. Yeah, you're welcome.
One thing I would say just at the end to like top it off is kind of summarizing her whole message, like toughness.
Mm-hmm.
What you guys all just said, like your favorite parts of her message, the shaking off mistakes, the surrounding yourself with great people, all those things in order to be tough is really hard. You know?
It's really hard.
It's hard to be tough. Like it's not an easy thing to do. And everything that you guys pointed out, like I love talking about how you said that mistakes are okay.
Mm-hmm.
How many of us are like really okay with making mistakes, right? So a lot of us can get mad, can get angry, can start pointing the finger. Like we all have to be like all the things she broke down, like we have to have the discipline to not get angry at our teammates. We have to have humility when we're the ones that made the mistake. Like be like, okay guys, that was my bad. And that's all the things that come along with like everything that she just defined in toughness is what leaders have and how leaders carry themselves. And if you guys want to be leaders in your teams and within your friend groups and anything like that, like like she said, people want to follow. People are influenced by people who are tough, by people who can make a mistake and shake it off, by people who have a positive mindset, by people who set goals and achieve those goals. Like, being a leader, one of the greatest characteristics you can have, which she didn't necessarily say this, but I know you guys are all smart enough to be like, okay, 1 + 1 = 2. That makes sense. To be a leader, you got to be tough. So I think like everything you guys just said and pointed out from her talk is awesome. And you're all identifying stuff in yourself that you loved, that you related to. And those are your qualities of leadership, and you got to lean into those. And you got to dig, and you got to keep getting better at those. And the ones that you were maybe like, that's not really me, like those are the ones that you should dig into even more. Right? So.
For sure.
Thanks.
Yeah,
for being
nice
here.
job.
Yeah, and come grab one of these if you want one. If you need more, we can make more. Put them out at the gym.
Yeah. Maddie has a copy.